Listen up, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Music Scene Podcast. I am your host, Dave Cudrak. So, a lot of you guys have been asking me about my next guest and when I was going to have him on, and today is the day. Today, we have Pete Scavello, super popular around the South Jersey area, known for his original music and his videos. And we had a great time, talked all about how he started, band project that he was in a while ago that eventually turned into the solo thing that he's doing now. Talked all about him working with Danielson from Smile Empty Soul to record his EP. Talked about the next EP that's he's working on. And you guys get a sneak preview because not only do we hear Crazy, which was his first single off of his first EP, but we're also going to hear a new song called Cut the Throat that's expected to be on the next EP. So stick around at the end of the conversation for that. It was a great time. We had lots of laughs. So I really hope you guys enjoy my conversation with Pete Scavello. Anytime I write a song, it comes out to be country, and I'm not a country guy.
Yeah.
But it's always just like 4 chords, a melody, a chorus, and a bridge, and I feel like that's what just comes out of me. I'd like to learn how to get out of that, but anyway.
It's funny, my 4 songs I released, I guess maybe because they're on acoustic, I keep getting put in country subgenres. Not full country, but like southern rock country or like it was called like dirty Kansas country or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just,
okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I might have heard something like that, like in that somebody at Little E's at the open mic, somebody was like talking to me and they were like, "You've got a great voice for this." And it was some kind of dirt something or other.
Yeah.
And like red dirt country or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay. I've never even heard of it. It's like back road
stuff. It's not like,
Exactly. All right. So, Pete, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you doing the podcast.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. You've been highly requested to be on the podcast, so that's pretty awesome. A lot of the previous guests I've had have all said like, "Oh, when are you going to interview Pete? When are you going to interview Pete?" So today's the day. I think a lot of people will be happy. Yeah. So
they're satisfied.
You got to. It's a high bar's been set, Pete. A high bar's been set.
I can't do pull-ups, so hopefully,
All right. So let's kind of go back from the beginning, and we don't have to go in chronological order. We can certainly jump around. There's no rules, right? But like, where did it all start for you as far as like playing music?
So it started for me, like my dad was in a band. I guess he had a band, but wasn't really like present as far as him playing an instrument in the house. He kind of did it outside when we were young.
Okay.
So I did see instruments around the house, but I had interest in it, but nothing nothing really came of it then. And that was kind of more like, I guess, during the 80s.
Okay. So you say during the 80s, I immediately flashed to hair metal. So was your dad in like a hair metal band? Please say yes.
I want to say it was probably more like 70s kind of like rock stuff. It was an original band, but I heard a couple tapes. They didn't really, maybe played a couple of like house shows or something like that. Nothing really came of it.
Okay.
I definitely like tried noodling around with the guitar a couple times, but there wasn't really like a love for music then.
Okay.
I have a twin brother and a younger brother.
Yep.
And our house was like predominantly sports. So it was football, baseball, like constantly alternating. And it probably wasn't until at the end of high school when like 90s grunge came out, and that's something about the vibe, like the darkness and the something of that style of music just drew me in. And
sure.
And finishing sports and not really like I did try college with football, but kind of went away from that.
Okay.
But the love of 90s, it was kind of like now I don't have sports, so what am I going to do? So I taught myself how to play guitar. And
about how old were you then?
I didn't start teaching myself till I was like 19 or 20.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
And I probably should have spent a little more time. I always tell people I'm not that great of a guitar player, but I just taught myself just enough to write songs. And
Okay.
I messed around playing a couple of the songs, but I wasn't great at learning. I probably should have taken lessons, but I wasn't great at learning cover songs.
Okay.
So I learned enough chords to teach myself how to write and
Oh, nice.
and started messing around with that. And I did try doing a band. I had a band that I tried starting it when I was 21, probably for 10 years off and on. I just wasn't good enough, but
Okay.
for 10 years off and on, the lineup changed a couple times, and I just wasn't strong enough of a guitar player to play and sing
Okay.
strong enough.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. That's not easy to do.
it's
like
not.
when you're first starting. I mean, it took me 10 years probably to be able to sing and play at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
And I didn't really pick up on the muscle memory part of it. So I kind of, when I dissect how like a singer that I like, how he's singing and playing, I was kind of looking at where he's coming in on the riff, and I would find patterns that
Oh, okay.
most, like if I was studying your catalog, you might have a similar pattern that you come in and sing on your riff. So I would recognize those patterns, and I would use that to try to learn to play and sing some cover songs, and not really putting the work in for the muscle memory, but but I did start writing songs and had a couple lineups where we were in the basement working it out, never worked to a show. And I think it was probably my first experience of the first attempt with the band failed. The band's name was Rail.
Rail.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's like probably 1,000 bands of Rail on, but I like the logo I came up with. So I'm like, we're probably just staying local, so we'll stay with Rail. But my first attempt with Rail, even the band I could tell wasn't confident with my singing. So it wasn't until I actually went to an open mic at Grape Street and performed a couple of songs and got a great response of it. But that was just me doing it solo acoustic, but fronting a band that just the strength wasn't there still.
Okay.
And so that it didn't, there was like a little excitement around that, and I thought maybe it was going to grow into a show or something, but
What kind of music was it? Rock?
it was
music or grungy type?
it was like
type
grungy stuff, yeah.
Okay.
And everything was on electric then, yeah.
Okay.
So when I write songs, I always write them that I can go out and perform them solo, no matter what I do. So I bring a finished song to a band, and they'd add their parts.
Okay.
I never actually wrote with anyone. I started playing solo shows, and I had a few other members approach me probably like around 2010, 2011, and showing a lot of interest in it. So we formed a band and then finally started playing shows.
Nice.
So quick side story. I had a buddy that was in Seether.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Oh, yeah. By the way, my friend was in Seether. Come on, Pete.
So this was probably after the acoustic album. He was a hired gun on the first album.
Okay.
And then was signed into the band. They re-released the first album, and then
Okay.
and then
Awesome.
he wrote the second album with them.
Sweet.
He came up with the Remedy riff.
Oh, that's awesome. What's his name, by the way?
Pat Callahan.
Pat Callahan. Okay. Awesome.
And then shortly after the One Cold Night that they recorded in Grape Street, he had a falling out with the band.
Yep.
So when he came back, he had started his own band, and he had learned that we had a bunch of his friends had formed a band. So he basically put it on us. He just came. He's like, "Look, I have a show booked in a month. You guys are opening up. Get your stuff ready." So it was like that was great. Yeah,
that'll light the fire.
Yeah, so that pushed us to get going. So so we had probably 8 to 10 songs,
Nice.
and we played a bunch of shows with him, and that band, that same lineup, we probably did. It was off and on for, I don't know, 10 years. We would do it for 2, stop, and then
Right.
never really break up. Just nobody had the time to practice because two of us had families.
Okay.
The other two didn't, but you know,
Sure.
just as busy.
Yep.
I think some of them still think we're in a band, actually.
It's like the old girlfriend you
Just
never
don't wanna
broke up with.
practice. Yeah. But yeah, so but through that time, I continued to write and still would play solo if the time came. You know, I know a lot of people that come on say they take a hiatus.
Yeah, that seems to be the running theme.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't think I ever took a hiatus. I always, like, the guitar is always in the living room, and like when I come home from work, I have about 10 or 15 minutes. I'll pick the guitar up
Nice.
and you know, I'll either mess around with an old song or you know, I'm sure you have the same thing where you might play the same E minor or A minor like 100 times, but for whatever reason that one day it sounds amazing and you write a song around it.
Yep.
So like I've always continued to write. Never really took a hiatus from writing, but here and there I just would not pursue performing as much.
Okay. Yep.
Because I've always done original. I never wanted to be a cover artist.
Sure. Well, that's great though. You're out there finding your own voice then, and instead of trying to copy somebody else's.
I just always felt strongly about my music, so I just and I guess then too when I was playing, I was always. That's the thing I found that I love about open mic so much, that when I started playing in bands, then there was kind of the thing was like, no, they're like, that's for beginners. You know, the bands are and playing shows are
right.
You know, where you want to be.
Yep.
So I never really went to them except that one time that I, you know, played at Grape Street. When I did the band, it was always playing for my friends.
Okay.
And you know, I'm thankful that they came out and support me, but they didn't necessarily love my music or paid attention.
They're just being supportive friends.
Yeah, and you're getting the feedback that you expect to get, or you know, like, oh, you sounded great, or like no, like in depth, or you know.
Quick side story. I had posted an original song, or I had posted myself singing and playing for the first time ever on YouTube. You know, this was years ago. And I sent like the link to a couple of friends of mine. And I was not, back then, I was not a good singer at all. Like I just didn't sing at all. You know, I always considered myself a guitar player. And I sent the link out to some friends, and one guy was like, your guitar playing's great, man. And that was it. Like, nothing to say about my voice. So I know what that feedback that you expect to get. I know kind of what you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
and you know, I was grateful for their support, but like I wasn't building like there wasn't, you know, the guys that I had in the band played in a lot of bands before that. Okay. And they were in the scene when people were interested in going out and finding something new. And when I got into it, it just seemed like, you know, playing at Grape Street, for instance, like if you had a show there, the 15 to 30 people that came to see you will come watch you, and they would leave and not stick around for the next band or watch the band before or anything like that.
Yep.
And that just seemed like I was just playing to the same people all the time. And I'm sure they were getting tired of it.
Sure. It's always rough when you ask people to come out, you know, to this gig. And I know you just came out last week, but I need you to come out to this one. You know, it's tough.
And I don't want to make them feel bad like they have to. So that's why, you know, I post it. That's what's great about stories now. You could just share it and you see who sees it. You make, you know, and that's that's good enough. But I said to my wife, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just play locally. Just go to places that no one knows me.
Yep.
And see if I can just get a natural response. And she was like, yeah, go ahead. And I started at Dr. Brewlittle's or Red, White, and Brew, and I just started getting, even if it was one response, it was like the response was way better than anything I was getting before.
Right.
And it was encouraging. So got to meet half of the people that you've had on already. Or at least more
it's
than
a
half
close knit bunch. That's for sure.
And it's been great getting, you know, there's a handful of us that write original music and we give feedback to each other and it's way better than anything that I've experienced before with music.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it's really a great community.
Yeah. I was trying to remember when I think I first saw you, maybe met you at Red, White, and Brew, but I don't think I stuck around long enough to hear you play. I think I had my like another gig or something or whatever. And then I think I first heard you play. It might have been at Brew Littles or maybe Little E's when you came to the open mic.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But yeah, no, I've seen you around a couple times, but never had the chance to see you play until like maybe a few times later.
Yeah, I think Red, White, and Brew is probably where we met first. I remember, I think you and Leanne used to get signed up first.
Yeah,
and,
we'd go early. Yeah. Yep.
'Cause I remember you playing cover a Tool or
sober. Yeah.
And then you did the Halloween thing. You had the
That's right.
Yeah.
I was dressed up as an 8-foot Jack Skellington. Thank you for remembering that. By the way.
But and even for Dr. Brutal's, for example, like that was one of the second or third ones I went to, and he loves when I call him out. But there's a John Heisler is one of the guys that lives locally, and his family comes out to support. They love listening to original music or even people cover music.
Yep.
And the first time I went there, I played "Can't Stay," and I was actually thinking about taking the song out of the rotation just because it just felt like a downer to me. I always loved the song, and I'm like, maybe I'll bring it back later, just save it for shows. But I played it, and he came over and was like, he's like, I really love that song.
Nice.
I'm like, great. So it's like, so now when I come here, I'll just play that song. If he's here, I'll play it for him.
Yeah.
And that, like, the community in that bar kind of just, like, the support and the encouragement from them was like what kind of pushed all of this.
Did you do your video premiere there or something like that?
I did.
Tell me about that.
I was going to do a traditional, I guess, CD release party, or my wife's cousin has a great background in doing videos, and I think he was on a couple Netflix things.
Oh, cool.
And maybe an HBO thing or something. So I called him and asked about doing a couple videos, and we just did something simple. Like for Crazy was the first release that we did, and it was just a dark backdrop. And when I'd asked Sean like what to do for video content, he was like, just do something simple. I guess as a thank you to everyone at Dr. Brew Littles, I was like, in open mics where everything's kind of started for me, I was like, I'm going to do everything on the open mic nights and as a thank you to them.
That's cool.
And so I would try to make an event out of each one of them, but I did a video watch party, I guess, for, the night before it comes out, just the same as like when you release the song the next day on Spotify.
Yep.
And I did that for the Crazy video. I don't think I did it for the next two, but I did it for Can't Stay, the final.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So let's go back to kind of where this started as far as, meeting Sean and so for those that don't know, Sean Danielson from Smile Empty Soul, you guys might remember that band from I think the late 90s ish.
Yeah, early 2000s.
Early 2000s. Yeah. So he was, I guess, your producer on this album, right? Or EP. So how did you like meet him, and how did it come about that you ended up recording out there in Chicago?
So I met Sean through my buddy Pat, and then I've been a fan of his for since he came out.
Yeah.
So he's still releasing music, and I got to talk because he's playing a lot smaller shows now.
Sure.
He's been self-promoted, I guess. He had like a falling out with his label on the second release. Okay. And so he's been self-promoted pretty much since then.
Okay. So he's like running his own label kind of.
Oh, yeah. He's like doing all the behind-the-scenes stuff, everything. So following him and going to, I don't know how many shows, but I become friends with him.
Nice.
And to the point now, like a couple years ago, it's like more of a personal relationship. So it's like he would actually ask me, "Oh, how you making out with your music?"
Yep.
And at the time, I was recording with some people locally, and I was getting good takes on the stuff. But like when it came to production, it wasn't clicking. Like
right. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah, it just didn't feel right. And so he basically said, "Oh, how you making out with it, your recordings?" And I just said, do you have a second to listen to something? And I sent him the tracks, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I know exactly what you need.
Right.
And he's like, and I'd love to do it for you, but the only problem is that you've got to come to St. Louis to do it if you want to work with me.
Okay, St. Louis. I said Chicago. My
Yeah,
bad. St. Louis.
And and he lives in Arkansas, but he's got a 7-hour ride, so it was like 15
wow.
or 16 for us. But
Okay.
and I was like shocked at first. I'm like, he's my, like, I got 2 favorite artists, and he's
Right.
like one of my favorite artists. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
like to have the opportunity to work with your favorite
Sure,
artist. I was
yeah.
like,
Yep.
said to my wife, I don't care if we got to sell the house. Like, this is happening.
We're
Yeah.
doing it somehow.
Before he says no. This is happening.
Yeah, right. Before he changes his mind.
Yeah. I locked down the studio time with him, and he was awesome. He's just like, look, let me make some phone calls. He's like, I'll get you the same people that do the master mix for me.
Oh wow.
You know, same studio. I'll try to get you all my rates and all that stuff. And I'll bring my RV. That's what he uses for a tour bus now. He's like, we'll park it in the studio parking lot, and he's like, you and your son could stay on the RV with me, and we'll just wake up, go in the studio,
That's amazing.
do what we got to do, then get back in the RV for 4 days straight.
So you didn't have to pay for a hotel. That's
Didn't have
awesome.
to pay for a hotel. Yeah, it was really cool. And the studio had a full, had the full bathroom.
Oh,
It had,
cool.
Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
cool. Like leading up to it, I sent him the tracks, and I think he had a couple minor tweaks on Crazy, but pretty much for everything else, he was happy with the songs. He felt like they were. Because I was like, I said, look, if you're willing to do this, you have full production rights, and if you want me to change something, like, just let me know ahead of time, because I need to practice for like hours.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Pretty much everything stayed the same. There was a chord change on Crazy, but getting to work with them like at that level in the studio was just
It's phenomenal.
like to see at that, because I was in 3 or 4 studios before we went, and like how fast and efficient everything is, and being, I think if I wasn't friends with them before, I would have been like super nervous.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So that like that definitely took the edge off, like knowing them, and we were able to joke around, but also I was able to have like input and not feel like I wasn't at the same level,
Right. And you can, and you guys can trade ideas back and forth as, just like you said, like as peers.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh my God, this is my favorite, one of my favorite musicians, you know what I mean? And not be intimidated, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I get it. That's awesome.
That's what I think's been great about this community is like, I don't have it, believe me, I don't have much figured out at all, but like there's a handful of artists that are like getting ready to do the same thing, and they've come and asked me questions, and I said, look, just take my number, because I don't have it all figured out, but I'd hate for you to wake up
Right.
and your song gets released and you find out the next day that you're the only person that listened to it, just to
Right.
make sure it was there.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yep.
because there's certain ways to release things, and
Sure.
and that's why I think I love going to open mics too, is because I am not like, if you said, Pete, let's learn a song together right now. Like there's a 99% chance that I'm going to be like I'm tone deaf, everything. Like when I tell you that all these songs, even a new song, like I won't play it out until I've played it 1,000 times, and then my wife gives me the blessing on it. It's like, but I know, like I enjoy going to the open mics because not necessarily everyone's genre is like something I would listen to outside of, like at work or something, but like I can appreciate anyone's music, any style live. Because I know the amount of work that goes into getting to where they're at,
Right.
and some people might not be as far as long, but you don't know where they started either. So it's But some people will come in, play, and leave, and there's legitimate reasons most of the time. But if someone sits next to, it always happens to me that the person who's signed up last sits next to me, makes conversation with me, and I'm like, all right, I'm here.
Well, now you're stuck here.
So I'm like, wow. But I do try to always stay, and I always try to go over and make sure that I tell someone that they did a good job. People are looking for feedback, and So I try to do that.
It also makes you feel good, no matter how experienced or inexperienced you are. It always feels good if somebody that you don't really know all that well says, "Hey, man, I love that song," or "Great job," or whatever. You know, and it's win-win. You know what I mean? Like what you said earlier about, people looking at it as a competition and, holding other people's talents kind of back or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody wins in that situation.
No one wins.
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like even the person who thinks they're in a competition, they're not getting any further by pushing somebody else down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen people book shows to where they're putting a lineup around them that's not as talented so that they shine. And it's like I'm the opposite. I want everyone to be better than me.
Yeah,
I want it to be a great show.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, and just holding wasted talent is the worst thing to me. That's why that's why I think another reason why I do it is to push my son. 'Cause my son has always had a great voice.
Yep.
And he's never wanted to show it. And so this past year, even in the studio, he sings on a couple of the tracks.
Yep.
But he struggled socially to get his music out there, and I kind of doing it as an example for him too.
Sure.
But now he's just
he's doing
he's just show off now. It's
Did I hear somewhere because you did an interview, a radio interview.
Yeah, Rock on Radio. Yeah.
Yeah. So I listened to that. It was 2 hours long, but I listened to it.
It was long. Yeah.
And no, but did I hear you say on that, or maybe I heard you say it somewhere else that your son is also going out to record with Sean too?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So he's doing he didn't want to do more than 2 songs, so he's doing maybe 3, but he wants to do a full band.
Okay.
And this kid just amazes me because he's never he did school rock for a little bit.
Okay.
He taught himself how to play guitar on YouTube. Just a quick story about him. He came up I had a show in PA, and he's like, "Oh, I'd love to go up and play a couple songs with you."
Yep.
And this was a couple weeks before the show, and I'm like, "Look, I'll show you the chords. I'm really behind on rehearsing, so show you the chords. Make sure you keep practicing them, and then we'll, before we'll get together a couple times and play them out." I was like, "And you got to follow me. I can't follow you." So I'm like, "I already struggle enough." And he got up and ended up playing 4 songs with me.
Okay.
And from there, he just kept teaching himself guitar on YouTube, and he asked me about songwriting, and I told him what I do, and now he's got, I don't know, 18 of his own.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
he probably has 40, but he's very particular of his lyrics.
Yep.
So he sends them back. And,
okay.
Every once in a while he'll play one out, and then he we asked to hear it again, and he never until it's
he's
done.
Not satisfied with
he's
it.
not satisfied. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And but his melodies and he got it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so to get back to the studio thing, he just wants to do 2 songs because he wants to do a full band.
Okay.
And we did a quick demo. We did some tracking with Tim Pool that runs the Dr. Brulers.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep.
And Mason already knows, he knows what drums he wants already.
Oh, wow.
He knows what he wants everything to sound like already.
Yep. That's cool.
And I don't have that. I don't know where he's getting that from.
I don't have that either.
Yeah, he's very I'm like, wow. And but he just wants to do 2 songs because he wants to have an example to show, I guess, other bandmates. He doesn't want to put out a whole album without having potential bandmates on it.
Sure. So who would play? He'd get studio musicians then to play.
Yeah. So on my stuff, Sean played. I played the acoustic and did the vocals, and then Sean did the lead guitar, bass, and any percussion.
Oh, okay.
And and for my sons, he'll probably do the same. He'll do the bass and the guitar, and then they're gonna have a studio drummer there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe even Sean's drummer. I'm not sure.
Right.
Depends on where they're at and tour wise.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I guess we're losing a day just for the drum, for mic and the drums and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Because my EP didn't have a full drum set on it.
It
was just
percussion.
Yeah, just percussion stuff.
Okay.
So
where did that percussion come from? Just like a computer or?
So the percussion on I think Crazy was pads. Was
okay. Yep.
And Sean did that, and then he did all the percussion. He did the shakers, the tambourine, whatever.
Okay.
He did everything.
That's cool. That's very cool.
And then I never experienced doing just because I play solo, so I never wrote harmonies. And,
Oh, right.
And he was like, would you like to do those? And I was like, yeah. So he showed me how he writes his harmonies, and I was not good at singing them.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be good at that either.
Yeah, I'm so brainwashed. Like I brainwash myself so that if I can't hear myself sing,
Yeah.
that it comes out the same still. So I know that I'm pretty close.
Okay.
So every time he would say, look, I'm going to go in, lay the track down, go in and sing along with me, and then we'll take it out.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And so he would do it. Every time it recorded, I would sing the same
Be
exact
right on
way.
on the note, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be like a third or a fifth down or up or whatever. You're right on it.
Oh yeah. He's like, you're singing exactly the same every time. I'm like, okay. So my son actually upstaged me on the. He was like, for Violet Skies and Rain, he's like. He's just like, Dad, get out of there. I can do it. I'm like, really? Everyone's having a good laugh.
That's awesome.
Inside, I'm hurting a little.
Yeah, right. That's great, though. That's awesome. I love it. I love that he was comfortable enough to just be like, I can do it.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you said you were kind of teaching your son at least your writing process, right?
Yeah.
When he asked you. So what does that look like?
So the songwriting process for me is, as I was saying, like I start with a riff first.
Okay.
I never have all the guitar parts. Maybe a couple times I worked out different things because I was struggling with a melody. But what I do is I'll have maybe the verse riff worked out, and I'll just keep playing that, and I start humming a melody over it.
Okay.
And I try to decorate a little bit so it's make it interesting, and then. 9 times out of 10, that humming becomes words.
Okay.
So I'll usually have maybe a full verse of lines right away, or I'll just have a couple lines, and then I start to build around that melody.
Okay.
And usually those lines start painting a picture, and sometimes I can see what the song's going to be about already, or I don't know, like I hear people like refer to it as you're the vessel, and you're just.
Yeah,
songs are like given to you, and you got to take them when they're there.
Yeah.
But or subconscious. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think my writing is kind of similar to yours. Mine usually starts a little bit with like a lyric, like a little catchy phrase or something, and then I might pick out some chords, and then it is mostly gibberish. Like I'll have the one hook that inspired me to write,
Right.
but then I'll have gibberish lyrics throughout the rest. And then I just keep doing it over and over. And then finally like real words start forming.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, ooh, I like that. Let's go down this road and see, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It sounds very similar to what you do.
Yeah. I try I try to follow the don't bore us, get us to the chorus.
Oh yeah.
I try to follow that because I feel like some songs are too long.
Yeah, sure.
So I try to focus on making the hook catchy.
Yeah.
Whether the words itself are catchy or not, like just sometimes it's just the way you sing it is catchy.
Yep.
But I try to focus on that a little bit more. I did fall into, I wouldn't say I guess it was probably a bad habit, but like I liked finishing. I liked being done with songs.
Yeah, me too.
So I would write a great first verse and I have a great hook, and I would take the first verse and just rhyme a second verse with it.
Right.
Not really focusing on it.
Put a ton of thought into it. Yeah. I've done that too. I'll have maybe a first and a second verse, then I'll have my chorus, and then like the third verse could just be a repeat of the first verse. You know what I mean? You know, stuff like that, because I'm like, oh, I just want to get it done.
You just want to get it done, yeah. And it started to bother me a little bit, so I'm like, so I did during COVID. I did. Do you remember Sick Puppies?
Yes. Yep.
So the original singer for Sick Puppies started this a Twitch group.
Okay.
And it was lockdown sessions, they called it.
Okay.
So, and he actually has it filmed, those sessions filmed, and now he uses it for a songwriting course.
Oh, cool.
So what he would do is like he would write a riff, and then the community of people on there would write a song together.
Oh, wow.
So he took those tapes, and he has like a couple videotapes of him talking about songwriting, and so I was like, you know what, let me revisit songwriting with him, because I just want to have a little bit more meaning into the second verse. Like I'm not focused, and a lot of it was like refresh on stuff that you kind of already, but you're like not being conscious of it and applying it.
Yep.
So I was getting prompted to write a song every week.
Oh, yeah, you held yourself accountable?
Yeah, so he was like, oh, this is the parameters for this week. This is the parameters for that week, and so I was trying to keep up with that as well.
This is a self-guided course, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, no. So at the end of the week, you do a Zoom call, like a group with them,
okay.
and
all right.
so he then like kind of goes around the room and revisits like your work and what you're doing.
So you're actually communicating with him on a weekly basis. Okay.
Yeah. He would also kind of dive in. Like for me, we got into performance. Like I had shared for the song, a couple of the songs I did, I shared a video of like whether it was a Brew Littles or something, and I had a recording of it. And I'd share it, and he would say, he's like, look, he's like, you're a little bit further along here. He's like, why don't we talk about your performance, like in between songs, or like. And I think I even shared it with Shay, I believe too, and Shay does it very well.
Yep.
Is almost rehearsing what you're going to say between songs.
Like interacting or just giving some kind of story or something. Yeah.
Because you want it to flow off nice.
Sure.
And you don't want to be like searching for words. So you just want to seem smooth and so there's so much to all this stuff. It's like, I'm like, what do I get myself into?
Yeah, and a lot of it, I'm no expert, obviously, but a lot, it all depends on the personality of the person too, right? Like, I mean, I know some musicians who don't have to rehearse anything between songs. They just, they're almost like comedians working a crowd. You know what I mean? Like they're very good with
very natural.
Communicating with the crowd, all that stuff. And then there are folks that may not be as forthcoming. Maybe they're a little bit shy, they want to get up there and play in front of people, but then that's really all they want to do. They want to stay in their bubble, but it's good that that people are helping you work on the stuff in between, just to make it an overall better experience. Right. Yeah.
And I noticed, especially with original music, like not all your songs are going to be killer. Like you're going to lose the attention of people that aren't looking for original music.
Right.
They don't hear that song that they hear 30 times every week. Like, so I noticed myself too, that in between songs, if you've lost some people, that like even just saying a small amount of what your next song's about. Yeah. And you don't have to go into a lot of detail, just enough that it intrigues you to say, oh, let me hear what words he's going to use to describe this song, this topic. And I noticed like little stuff like that. And I try to work on that, like you say, to make the experience a little bit better, and you do get a better interaction with people.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially if it's like a common something that everybody experiences, right? Like my one song, "Firm Grip," it's written from my dad's perspective. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. But it's written from my dad's perspective, and when I do play it out, I usually say like, this next song, it's one of my own. It's written from my dad's perspective. He was an alcoholic and he's no longer with us because of it, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of like my rehearsed line. Yeah. Because just about everybody in that room knows somebody that's been affected by alcoholism. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's something that does get people's attention, and they have a tendency to engage a little bit more when yes, it's my own song, but wait, I want to hear what he says.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that's those little things really, they bring people, at least gives you another 10 to 15 seconds to captivate them for something.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
You might lose them again. They got to do it again.
Right. Yeah. As soon as I end that, I go into a banger, though, for sure. One of my best, one of my better cover songs. I immediately follow that up. It's all an act. It's all a big act.
Right. Yeah. I try to get my son. My son has this quality that he captivates the crowd without talking.
Oh, really?
And there's something about his delivery. I don't know what it is. And maybe it's just me because I'm his father, but like I've had other people come up to me and say the same thing. Like he just has a quality about his singing and his performance that keep them, keep them interested. So
that's cool. That's very cool. I saw Alice in Chains way back in the day when Lane Staley was still alive. And that man had zero like showmanship. Yeah. He basically stood in the middle of the stage with one spotlight on him and the sunglasses, and just held the mic and sang and stood there that way for the whole hour and a half, whatever. But he had everybody in the palm of his hand. He didn't need to twirl the microphone and all that stuff. He was just there, like, doing it, and the whole place was captivated.
Just something genuine in that tone of his voice was just
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the same thing with him or not.
Maybe it's some kind of underlying thing.
Yeah, gotta find it.
Minus the heroin, hopefully. Anyway, so let's. So in that radio interview you did, you mentioned, and I'm not going to remember who it was because it was a couple months, I think, when I listened to it. You had played some, like, you opened for somebody or something up in North Jersey, I think.
Yeah, so I had gotten lucky to play. I'd answered a Facebook ad. There's a great venue, the Debonair Music Hall.
Okay.
In Teaneck, New Jersey.
Yeah.
I answered a Facebook. Somebody dropped out of a show. I jumped on it, and long story short, the venue loved my voice.
Nice.
So they basically said, "Look, we'll be in touch. We would love to use you as an opener for a handful of shows that come through."
Okay. National touring acts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So the singer for the first one I did was the singer for TNT.
Okay.
He was doing a storyteller session.
Yep.
And Tony Harnell.
Yeah.
And that one was cool. It was like they had a bunch of tables set up, and it was just me then him, and it was great. It was a great experience. I got to go in for the sound check, like to watch somebody spend as much time as he did on the quality of his vocal coming. Like it was, I've never seen that somebody spend so much time on that. But that was a great experience, and I mean that was. I'm gonna say maybe there was like 150 people there, 200 people. So
nice.
that was a great show.
Yep.
And then I got offered the show to play open up for White Line.
Oh,
yeah,
that's who I was thinking of. That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, that was a cool experience. I said to the guy, I was like, I don't know if the genre works, but I said,
Yeah.
He was like, no. He's like, we'd love to have you on this. And and I met the other band before them, the War Brothers. It was like more of that genre, but like a group of actual like 5 brothers.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. But that venue is just amazing. Like the sound there. Yeah. And playing that show, like the Tony Harnell show was table, so like you weren't allowed to stand up close to the stage.
Okay.
But this was White Lion, so they wanted to be up front and be close to the singer. So So like when I went up there to play, I got like people up by my knees. I'm like, that was the first time I experienced that.
And did you play solo acoustic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I aim to just keep doing that. I don't really I'm not looking to start a band.
Okay.
All my recordings are going to try to reflect the same thing, like just minimal production.
Right. There might be extra instrumentation, but you still want to have the solo acoustic vibe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so when you come see me, that it's basically the same thing.
I got you. Okay.
Just I guess the talks I had with him, it was just something to replace losing the visual or hearing me live.
Okay.
Just to add a little bit of mood back into the song, you know.
Yep.
And I think I feel like he nailed it. I couldn't be happier with it.
It sounds great. Yeah. Your EP sounds great. Every single I've heard off it sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Doesn't sound like overproduced or anything like that. So.
Yeah.
And I don't have a super great ear for that stuff, but when something's not right, you can hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I hadn't heard anything like that on yours, so that's awesome.
Thank you. And I wanted to make sure it was something that I could, that I wasn't going to say, I can't perform that song because it's I can't hit that key or like everything.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yep. That's awesome.
And what was besides Can't Stay, like all those songs were songs that I had newly written doing open mic. Mm-hmm. Like it was all. I started songwriting more because I was performing.
Okay.
Performing more often and I was getting a response.
Yeah.
And I had actually another new song that was supposed to be on there. I wasn't going to do Can't Stay, but the plan wasn't to record Can't Stay. I wanted to record all new songs.
Yep.
But I was getting such a response from it, I couldn't not.
Yeah. And your daughter's in that video, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah. Mm-hmm. How did that come about?
So I had the song Can't Stay is inspired by my mother-in-law, like 20. That song's 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she had a battle with cancer 20 years ago. And, she was like the the core, like the center of the family. She kind of was the person that brought everybody together. Loved having family stuff.
Matriarch.
Yeah. So to see like that person going through something hard and seeing like how it affected my father-in-law and all that stuff.
Yep.
So I kind of wrote the song in my own perspective. Like if this was, I actually never told her it was about, like the song was inspired by her.
Okay.
But like I wrote it in my perspective. Like, wow, like what if I lost my wife to this, and so it was kind of like a reflection song.
Yep.
And so when the time came, I was really trying to make sure that I got that video right. So I kind of didn't make the video I wanted to for Keep Driving, but
okay.
So for Can't Stay, I wanted to make the right video, and I was talking to my wife's cousin, and I had an idea, and I said to my wife, I'm like, look, I really want to have you or Sophia or somebody, like it's going to be an actress or something, like,
right.
I want to have the vision of someone standing by the window, and because like there's a lot of those lyrics in the song that paint that picture, and when I told my wife that, she's like Sophia's doing it. Like she doesn't have a say. So like, and the idea was like, well, look, we're going to have you. It's not going to be focused. And
right.
we kind of sold her on that, but it was more focused. But I think when she watched the one of the last edits, she was happy with it.
Good.
Good. I think she was worried about it, like looking, not portraying her how she wanted to be portrayed.
Oh, okay, sure, sure.
Yep. And so she was happy to. That one was great because it was not only was I working with my wife's cousin, but like I got my wife involved. Like she immediately, I'm like, look, I need a window, I need curtains, and like she was on Facebook Marketplace and found an old window, great. And awesome. I'm home putting legs on it, and
So it's a family affair.
Oh yeah,
yeah, man, that's awesome.
So even my son, we were there, like we had cards, and we're like making the wind so the curtains.
You guys
are
are
moving.
the wind machine.
Yeah,
I love it.
But yeah, she really enjoyed that, and but for that song is 20 years old, and it's inspired by my mother-in-law, and even on the artwork you could see the feet, or even on the bag you see her on the record, the feet are her initials.
Oh, that's cool. Hold on.
So like that's an actual that artwork is an actual painting that Sean Danielson did. Yeah.
So I'm going to see if I can hold it up to the camera. So you'll see right there. Is that SW?
Yep.
SW right there.
Sharon West.
Check that out. That's cool.
Yeah. So Sean also, not only is he the lead singer of a band, and produces, he also is an artist. So he's a one-stop shop for me. So I don't know if he was happy with the pressure, but I was like, look, I would really, I've probably have like 6 or 7 of his paintings.
Okay.
And I said, look, I would really love you to paint the front of the EP. And he was like, yeah, I could do that. And I gave him some ideas, and I think he was stressing out about it, but I didn't hear anything for a while, but he definitely captured the 90s, like the grunge vibe.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
I was super happy with it.
And the vibe of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like your EP has kind of a consistent vibe.
Yeah.
And I think that, the cover of it does kind of capture that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was super happy with it. And I was like, look, you can put her initials, I just want them somewhere. I was like, and that was like the greatest idea, like at the feet.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's not even really noticeable,
Yeah.
So it's nice that it's like a little hidden gem.
Oh yeah,
That's cool. Very cool. So so before we get to the performance, for those listening that haven't heard your music yet, how would you describe your music, and who are some of your influences?
So influences, obviously, Smile Empty Soul is a Sean Danielson. My first influence, I guess, in the 90s would be Gavin Rossdale with Bush.
Oh, okay.
And I've seen probably both him and Sean, I want to probably say 70 to 80 times at least. Yeah.
Okay.
Something about his songwriting. His lyrics they weren't like so direct.
Yeah,
like very unusual lyrics.
I'm not throwing shade at Gavin Rossdale, but I remember telling my friend, like when that Bush album was huge, I was like, I have no idea what their lyrics mean. like they're way up here, and I have no idea what they mean. It's more about a feeling, I think. For at least for me, that's how I interpret Bush.
Yeah, that's and I'm normally like that. That's how I usually listen to music. I don't. I don't even take in the words. I just love the feeling of it.
Right.
And I know my wife's the other way. Like she loves what the words say.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're like, why do you keep listening to that song? It's like not good. Like it's what they're saying, but I don't hear it like that.
Yeah.
But something about his songwriting and the gritty, like that's how I don't know if I'm sure that's how you learn to sing too. Is by singing along with your favorites.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just between those two, and like Sean, something I appreciate about Sean still is that he's you can hear how he's grown, but he's not too far away from his original music.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Like he still has that raw edge to him, and you can hear him experimenting with different melodies, and he's got a great singing voice besides the rasp. But,
okay.
But both of them are like they're my inspiration,
Nice.
and I love Alice in Chains, and
Yeah.
some Nirvana, some Pro. I'm starting to appreciate more of those bands I didn't like then.
Okay.
Like I like certain songs of Pearl Jam, certain songs of Nirvana. I like a lot of Alice in Chains.
Sure.
How
How about Soundgarden and Chris Cornell type stuff?
See, my daughter loves.
Yeah.
And I never really was a fan, but now that she's been listening to it, I'm like starting to like some of the songs.
I only ask because when I first heard you play, I was like, oh, this is very much like a Chris Cornell acoustic vibe.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That was the first impression I got.
I've gotten that a couple times this year.
Yeah, because I think it's because he came from a grunge powerhouse band, and then all of a sudden these acoustic versions started popping up, and it was like, holy crap. Like we knew he could scream, but wow, he can really sing like an acoustic vibe too.
Yeah.
So that was the first impression that when I heard you sing, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it now.
But that's why I would think that's like my influences in my genre. I think I'm like an extension of mix of like 90s grunge and post-grunge music.
Yep.
Kind of like a collective of that.
Sure.
But people keep telling me I'm going country a little bit. I don't know. I do it.
Really?
One song I have tonight's got kind of, it's called Cut the Throat. And it's, it'll probably be on the next EP.
Nice.
And it's got kind of like a backwoods guitar riff. Yeah.
All right. No, I'm looking forward to hearing it.
I guess I'm leaning into it a little.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, you do live in South Jersey. There's a huge pocket of country music here in South Jersey, for sure. For sure. You got the Pine Barrens, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah. Do you have plans for the next EP yet?
So we're basically we're reliving this year like last year. We're going April. It's already booked April 10th to the 17th.
Oh, nice.
Me and my son are going back to St. Louis, and we'll be there for 7 days this time instead of 3 for him and 4 for me.
Yep.
And I'm anticipating releasing. I released Crazy in June, so I'm probably anticipating releasing in June again.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
last time you recorded in April, and the first single came out in June.
Yeah.
So looking to match that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't really when I recorded the music, then I started talking to him more. I didn't have all the artwork planned out, and I didn't realize how beneficial it would be to have all that stuff mapped out.
Oh, sure.
I'm kind of already trying to get ideas for the next stuff.
Oh, good.
Now because it Keep Driving took a long time for me to figure out what I wanted to do with that so what I did was I was trying to do 6 to 8 weeks, how they say, to stretch them out, milk each single,
Yep.
and do the video content so that you can get like different clips out of each one. And but I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan for Keep Driving, and I was actually going to maybe do, because my wife's cousin was busy, I was thinking about doing like an AI video.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And some of the stuff I was getting back, the vibe wasn't right.
Yeah.
So I ended up making one myself. I took a Debonair Music Hall performance and did like a lyric video with some overlays on it.
Oh, cool.
And it came out great, but
Nice.
what happened is with that release, I wanted to make sure that I released Can't Stay on my mother-in-law and father-in-law's anniversary.
Oh, I see.
So it had to be on November 15th. So I set the date for that, and I was like, all right, well, Keep Driving's got to come out here, and this has to come out here, and I didn't give myself enough time to enjoy doing the artwork and promoting it right. So I feel like I didn't promote Keep Driving.
It was a bit rushed.
Yeah.
That's all right.
But I had to make sure Can't Stay was right.
Yeah. I get it.
So many people were waiting for that one, so I was like,
that's awesome. All right. So what songs are you going to do for us?
So I'm going to do Crazy, and I could do ones that as long as they're mine. Or
just no covers.
Okay.
For copyright reasons. Yep.
So I'm going to do Crazy, which was the first release on the EP, and then I'm going to do a new song called Cut the Throat.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, well, Pete, thanks again for doing the podcast. I appreciate you having here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me, and I want to say that I'm thankful for you for this and for running the open mic and all the guys that run them, because I feel like you guys, I'm sure you're getting paid for them, but the time you guys put in, to do it, it's like, I think people they take for granted the opportunity you're giving them.
Right.
Because you're getting to be put in different bar to play in front of new people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them now. And I'm pretty grateful for it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So this first song is called Crazy, and it's basically about finding your way through life, all the mistakes and the stumbles and all that nonsense. But this is crazy. I can't walk fast, I just assume you'll be late. You try and reach out for all the time it will take, and all the miles in between, all the miles in between. Now, maybe I'm crazy. I just couldn't stay running in circles, just trying to find my way. Maybe I'm crazy, just trying to find my way. Maybe I'm crazy, just trying to find my way. Try and stand on my own feet. It's tough to manage all the voices and the screams, and all the miles in between, all the miles in between. Now, maybe I'm crazy. It wasn't, I just couldn't stay running in circles, just trying to find my way. Maybe I'm crazy, just trying to find my way. Maybe I'm crazy, just trying to find my way. It wasn't, I just couldn't stay, been running in circles, just trying to find my way. Maybe I'm crazy, just trying to find my way. Maybe I'm crazy, just trying to find my way. Thank you. So this next song is called "Cut the Throat." It's most likely going to be the second or third release on the new EP, and it's a song that's basically, I guess, during lockdown or during the political, times. It seemed like you weren't not allowed to have opinion. Like you had to be A or B. Like, so this is a song is called "Cut the Throat." It's kind of basically about forcing people to say what their opinion is. This is the one that has that backwoods kind of sound. Okay. This side of the fire seems life or death. Make your decision before you reach the end. You wake up, you're a liar. The newspaper says they caught you in desire. You're forced to raise your hand. Forced to raise your hand before they cut the throat. You better start running. You better start running now. You better start running before they cut the throat. You step out from the back end. You're covered in smoke. Your thoughts the settled. Chuck outline the road. They caught you in the crosshair. Surprise out for your head. The weight can't be lifted. You're forced to raise your hand. Forced to raise your hand before they cut the throat. You better start running. You better start running now. You better start running before they cut the throat. Forced to raise your hand. Forced to raise your hand before they cut the throat. You better start running. You better start running now. You better start running before they cut the throat. Hand. Forced to raise your hand before they cut the throat. You better start running. You better start running now. You better start running before they cut the throat. This side of the fire seems life or death.
All right. Nice. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.